The backstage of America's Got Talent. Among the chaos stood Liam Carson, a 26-year-old singer from Nashville, adjusting the collar of his white Elvis-inspired jacket. His heart pounded as he glanced at the stage curtain where dreams were made, or crushed. In his hands, he held his late father's old Gibson guitar, the same one they used to play together in their small-town bar. Just as his number was called, a man in a sharp black suit approached him. It was Tom Bradley, once a manager for Elvis tribute artists. "You're Liam, right?" he said, scanning him from head to toe. "Yes, sir." About to go on, Tom folded his arms, unimpressed. "Listen, kid, you've got the look, maybe even the voice. But you're 26. That's old in this game. These shows want fresh faces, teen idols. You missed your window." The words cut deep. Liam froze, trying to force a smile. "Too old," he repeated softly. "Sir, Elvis was changing the world at 30. Tom shrugged. "Yeah, but times have changed." He turned and walked off before Liam could respond. Liam stood there for a moment, staring at the reflection of the stage lights in his guitar's polished wood. Around him, younger contestants laughed, rehearsed TikTok dances, and filmed short videos for their followers. He felt invisible, a man chasing a dream in a world that worshipped youth. Then he closed his eyes, whispering to himself, "Music doesn't have an age." He adjusted his microphone, took a deep breath, and stepped toward the stage entrance. As the announcer's voice boomed, "Next up, Liam Carson," he straightened his shoulders. The rejection still burned in his chest, but now it fueled him. Tonight, he would prove every word wrong. The stage lights of America's Got Talent were blinding, a sea of gold and blue that shimmered like a dream. Liam Carson stepped out slowly, the echoes of his footsteps swallowed by the enormous theater. Thousands of eyes watched him, but it was the four faces at the judges' table that made his heart pound harder: Simon Cowell, Sofia Vergara, Heidi Klum, and Howie Mandel. Simon leaned back in his chair, eyeing Liam's white Elvis-inspired suit with mild amusement. "Well," Simon said, his voice echoing through the mic, "let me guess, you're about to do an Elvis impression." A soft ripple of laughter ran through the audience. Liam's hand tightened on his guitar, but he smiled calmly. "No, sir," he replied. "I'm not here to imitate Elvis. I'm here to finish what he started, music that reaches people's hearts." Simon raised an eyebrow. "That's a bold statement. Let's see if you can back it up." Liam took a step forward into the spotlight. The world around him seemed to disappear, the judges' skeptical faces, the crowd's chatter, even his own nerves. He gently strummed the guitar, the first soft notes of "Can't Help Falling in Love" filling the hall. The laughter faded. A hush fell over the audience. His voice, warm, rich, and sincere, floated through the air. He didn't sound like Elvis, not exactly. He sounded like himself, carrying decades of soul in every note. His tone trembled slightly at first, but as he sang the second verse, confidence bloomed. Simon's smirk softened. Heidi's hand moved to her heart. When Liam reached the final line, the lights dimmed to a single beam on him, alone with his music, proving age had nothing to do with greatness. The silence before the applause was electric. Love shimmered through the air like a prayer. Liam Carson's voice was soft at first, gentle, trembling, honest. His fingers brushed the guitar strings as if each chord held a memory. The audience leaned in, drawn to the quiet power of his tone. Then, halfway through the song, he did something unexpected. He paused. The lights dimmed even further until a single golden beam framed him. Liam looked up, eyes glistening, and said softly, "Elvis sang this for love. Tonight, I'm singing it for everyone who's ever been told they're too late." The band joined in, soft piano, slow drums, and Liam's voice soared. He shifted the melody, blending the vintage sound of the 60s with a soulful modern twist. Every word carried weight. The emotion was raw, unpolished, real. The crowd grew silent, not a phone lifted, not a whisper. Sophia's eyes filled with tears, Heidi clasped her hands together. Even Simon, famous for his poker face, slowly leaned forward, his expression unreadable but deeply focused. As Liam reached the bridge, his voice cracked slightly, but it only made the performance more powerful. The imperfection was beautiful, it was human. By the final chorus, the entire theater was glowing in the reflection of stage lights, thousands of people swaying gently to the music. When the last note rang out, Liam let the silence speak. He lowered his guitar, his chest rising and falling, eyes shining with disbelief. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then, an explosion of applause. The crowd rose to their feet. Some shouted, some cried. Simon's lips parted slightly, the only words escaping in a whisper caught by the mic. That was extraordinary. The roar of applause still echoed as Liam Carson stood frozen on stage, breathless and teary-eyed. The spotlight softened, revealing 4 judges who looked nothing like they had moments ago. Gone were the skeptical stares, now replaced by awe. Heidi Klum was the first to speak, rising slightly from her chair. "Liam," she said, her voice trembling, "that wasn't a performance, that was a moment. You made us feel every word." The crowd cheered as Liam gave a shy smile, clutching his guitar. Sofia Vergara wiped at the corner of her eye. "You have such a pure soul," she said warmly. "When you said you're singing for everyone who's been told they're too late, I felt that." We all did. The camera turned to Howie Mandel, who was shaking his head slowly. "I've seen hundreds of singers, Liam," he said. "But what you did, taking something so familiar and making it new again, that's artistry. You didn't just sing an Elvis song, you revived it." Finally, all eyes turned to Simon Cowell. The theater fell completely silent. Simon leaned forward, elbows on the table, his gaze steady and thoughtful. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he spoke softly, his tone unusually gentle. "Liam," he began, "I'll be honest. When you walked out in that Elvis outfit, I expected another impersonation. But what I heard tonight was the truth. You reminded me why people fell in love with music in the first place. You didn't copy Elvis, you carried his spirit forward." Liam's lip quivered. Simon smiled faintly, then pressed the golden buzzer. Confetti exploded from the ceiling as the crowd screamed. Liam dropped to his knees, overwhelmed, tears streaming down his face. Simon stood and clapped, speechless, but smiling. Golden confetti still floated through the air like tiny stars as Liam Carson stepped off stage, clutching his guitar and wiping tears from his face. The cheers from the audience echoed behind him, his name being chanted like a victory song. Backstage, crew members rushed to congratulate him, but Liam's eyes searched for one face, the man who said he was too old. Near the monitors stood Tom Bradley, the former Elvis manager. He wasn't smiling. His arms were crossed, his expression unreadable as he watched the replay of Simon Cowell hitting the golden buzzer on the screen. The performance was looping, the trembling voice, the heartfelt confession, the standing ovation. Liam approached quietly, still catching his breath. "Didn't expect that, huh?" he said, half smiling, half trembling. Tom turned, his tough demeanor cracking slightly. You proved me wrong," he admitted. "I thought the world only wanted young faces. But what you did out there," he paused, swallowing hard. "You reminded me what real music sounds like." Liam smiled softly. "Music doesn't age, sir. It just waits for someone to believe in it again." Tom nodded, extending his hand. Liam shook it firmly, the weight of rejection replaced by redemption. Suddenly, Simon Cowell appeared behind them, still brushing confetti from his jacket. "Liam," he called out, "you've just made history tonight. You didn't just sing, you made people remember." Liam looked at Simon, his voice steady but humble. "Thank you, sir. I just wanted to honor the ones who came before us." Simon smiled. "And you did. Elvis would be proud." As the cameras zoomed out, Liam stood at the edge of the stage lights, looking out at the roaring crowd. He whispered to himself, "Too old. Maybe just right."